What's up, everyone? So today we're going to be installing this. It's a Currie anti-rock. Let's go. So the Currie anti-rock. Why? Well, let's open this box up, and then I'm going to go ahead and tell you why I chose the anti-rock over everything else on the market for a TJ. First, let's get this open. Alright, so what do we got? We got our arms, looks like, bushings. These are probably the links. And in links and hardware. Alright, so now that we got all that, and this bar. Okay, perfect. So now that we have all the parts out of the box and we see what we have, let's go ahead and get our current front sway bar disconnected and removed. So we're going to have to kind of get all of this stuff unbolted so that we can get this off, so we can get the bumper off, and so we can get the sway bar off. Okay, first things first, we're going to unplug these lights just so we don't pull on the cables. Luckily when I installed them, I used the factory harness. So you may have to clip some zip ties all the way to get to it though. There we go, there's that one, and then we'll do the other side. Okay, so to undo these back two bolts, it's a 15mm socket, and to undo the front two, it's a Torx 55. So let's take these two out and these two out. Side. Okay, now that that's loose, we got to do the underside of the bumper. There's just one bolt. Should be the same Torx. Alright, now to see if we can get this bumper off without so let's undo the linkages and then pull this bar out. Okay, now that those are all done, let's see if we can tilt this forward and get this bar out without dropping everything. Looks like, though, that we're going to have to trim that bolt. So let's make a mark on it. Okay, now that that's done, let's go see if they fit. Okay, so the reason we had to cut the bolts down is because the bolts will come through here and through this tube, and we want this to be flush right here. So you don't need to take very much off. I think I took 1/4 of an inch, but you can see the cut bolt right there. So we're going to leave these in for now, just to hold the winch there until we get the whole sway bar in. But now let's start getting the bushings in. Now that's kind of started, take your block of wood, whatever you have, and just kind of start pounding. There we go. Okay, so those are in nice and tight. Now we gotta put our tube in, or now we gotta put our torsion bar in. All right, so this next part requires the torsion bar and a good amount of grease. So we're gonna grease the bar up. Just take the grease gun and apply a liberal amount of grease to the whole thing. That way when we push it through, it slips easier. So let's stick it in there. See if we can at least get it in there. Might have to use a piece of wood and a hammer, because that is not going in easy. Alright. So now we'll take this and run it through. Good amount of grease on this. Then I'm going to put some on the other bushing, and then we'll take a screwdriver and just put it in here, and all you're doing is just lifting the bar so that you can line it up to this bushing, so when you pound it through you don't knock the other bushing out the other side. Okay, that should be it right there. Let's see if we can give it a whack and get it in. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get these arms on. So let's do that. Okay, so the next thing to do is to take these end links here, these arms, and it says to push them up snug against the bushing. Now we're supposed to install these longer bolts and the nylon nuts. So we'll go ahead and do these loose, and we'll come back and tighten them down. So for the ends of the swaybar to keep the arms on, you use your shorter bolt, your lock washer, and then the big flat fender washer looking thing. So your setup will look like this. Also, I'm going to put some red Loctite. This is JB Weld thread locker, but same thing. We're going to put some red high strength thread locker on there. That way these do not come undone, because we don't want these to loosen up. That's pretty tight. Okay, let's go to the other side now. So in my case, they tell you to install them down like this so you can get them parallel, but if you do that, you can't get it past your suspension. So let's jack up the other side of the axle and see if we can get this side to come down, and then we can swing this up. It's about maxed out on the jack. Let's see if it works. Oh yeah, just barely. Sweet. I can just stay up there for now. Perfect. Now, in the directions, they say for a 4-inch lift with a 1-inch body lift, they recommend 10 inches. And they also say to set the bar level with the frame. I have a 3.5-inch lift that comes out to 4 inches, and I have a 1.25-inch body lift. So we're going to try the recommendation of 10 inches and see where we get. Okay, so we're pretty close to where Currie tells us we should be for that setup. So let's put this link on. And that's the cool thing about this. We'll put this link on, and then this link we'll just adjust to the other side, so we don't have to try to get them both the same length, because we'll just slip it in. So let's go put this one on. Alright. So there you have it. The Currie antirock is installed, ready to go. Let's go take a test drive, and then I'll tell you the real reason I bought it. And it's not for off-roading, because we all know that the Currie anti-rocks are pretty good off-roading. Let's go for a drive first, test it out, and then I'll tell you why. So then the question is, why did I choose the antirock if it wasn't for off-roading? Well, not too long ago, I was actually hit on the freeway with my Jeep on 395. Now, luckily my Jeep seems to have fared minor injuries. No body damage. I got hit on the front tire, and I was towing a small trailer. And during that incident, I realized that no sway bar is a stupid thing. I got hit, and the sway bar is what helped keep me on the road towing the trailer. Now, my Jeep is kind of different than most. Most people either use their Jeep for one or two things. One thing might be rock crawling, and that's it. Another thing might be camping, and that's it. Mine has to do 3 tasks. It has to be a daily driver, it has to be able to rock crawl, and it has to be able to camp and tow a camp trailer. So it's got to do a lot of things in its life. So because of that, I didn't want the stock sway bar anymore. It's fantastic on the street, no doubt about that. You can't beat it. However, the problem is with it is that you have to disconnect it every time. Now, the metal cloak disconnects that I have, they were good, but I couldn't keep bushings in them, and I went through 2 pairs already. So, in lieu of that, there are other options. There is the off-road only sway bar, which has 2 positions. There is one by Skyjacker, I think, and also Terraflex. Issues with those. The Terraflex design, I didn't like the knob. That seems like something that could fail pretty easily or just not engage when it got dirty. Now, the off-road only seemed to be the best option. However, the amount of failures that are out there is quite surprising, and I didn't want to drop a lot of money on something that had a potential to fail. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually test the sway bar to see, can it do everything I need it to do. Now, it is adjustable to some extent. I have it set to the second softest setting. I drove it here. It actually seems to be pretty good. I've driven without sway bar before. I've driven disconnected most of the time. I did drive for 2 years without a sway bar completely, and I can tell you that the lean is not as bad as people tell you. Now, I do run Old Man Emu shocks, so that will help, but the lean is nowhere near what you would get disconnected. Nowhere near. It does lean a little bit more. That's true. It does lean. I'm not going to say it's as good as the stock because it's not, but it doesn't lean nearly as bad. So we're going to test this sway bar, and we're going to put it through the ringer. So the next video we make, it's going to be not necessarily related to off-road, because we all know that the Currie anti-rock does very well off-road on a TJ. And we don't need any more videos discussing that. But what I can't find is anyone who's done any testing or any real-world data on how it feels on the road, towing, and camping. Those I don't have. I scoured the internet, I looked for videos, I looked for forums, and the only thing I can say is some people say mine drives great on the road, and other people say mine drives terribly. I don't want to do that. I want to figure out, does it drive well? And if it drives well, does it tow well? So a lot of people with Jeeps tow small camp trailers, and they might be wondering, is this sway bar good for towing a small camp trailer? Well, we're going to find out. In the next video on this series for the Currie anti-rock, we're going to find out what is it good for, what is it not good for, what do we have to pay attention to. So stay tuned for that one, and we'll take a look at that. We'll figure out, is it good for what we need it to be? And if not, then we'll ditch it and we'll try something else. Anyway, guys, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you like what's going on with the channel, hit subscribe. And if you have any questions about the Currie anti-rock or suggestions on testing, or just want to talk about something on the channel, hit the comments below. I'd really like to start up a conversation about it. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and you guys have a wonderful day.